Think of the one thing you're working toward, the number, the title, the weight on the scale, the followers, the house. The day you finally get to exhale, hold it in your mind for a second. Now, here's something strange about it. You don't actually want that thing. You never have. Nobody has ever wanted a number. What you want is the way you believe the number will make you feel: safe, enough, respected, free. The goal is just the costume the feeling is wearing, and that quiet swap. Wanting a feeling, but chasing a thing, is one of the most expensive mistakes a mind can make, because you can win the thing and still not get the feeling. People do it every day. They arrive exactly where they aimed, and the exhale doesn't come. This isn't a small confusion. It organizes a whole life. It decides what you postpone, what you sacrifice, who you become while you wait. It builds an entire someday and then quietly moves someday further away every time you get close. Most people never notice they're doing it because the goal is real and effort feels honest, and the feeling they're actually chasing never gets said out loud. You can watch it happen across a single life. At 25, the feeling is at 30,000 more a year. At 35, it's at the house. At 45, it's at the number that finally means you're allowed to stop. Each time the person arrives, each time the feeling checks in for a night and quietly moves out, and a new address appears on the horizon. The chase never once fails to produce the next goal. It only fails to produce the feeling. And a person can run that loop for 40 years and call it ambition, when a great deal of it was a feeling they refused to let themselves have until it was earned by something impressive enough to deserve it. So let's say it out loud, and let's find out why the feeling almost never lives where you think it does. Here's the model running underneath, the one you were never taught but always believed. It goes: reach the goal, then receive the feeling, hit the number, then feel safe, get the title, then feel enough. The feeling is the reward sitting at the finish line, waiting for you to arrive and collect it. That model is wrong in a specific, testable way. The feeling isn't at the finish line. It was never stored in the outcome at all. Watch what actually happens when people arrive. A man spends 4 years chasing a promotion. He gets it on a Thursday. There's a moment, real, warm, earned, and it lasts about as long as the walk back to his desk. By the following Tuesday, the office looks the same. The inbox is heavier, and the feeling he was promised has quietly evaporated, replaced by the next number. The psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar gave this its name: the arrival fallacy, the belief that reaching the thing will deliver a lasting state, and the flat, confusing letdown when it doesn't. Not because he failed, because he succeeded, and success turned out to be a worse container for the feeling than he'd assumed. Now watch the mirror image, because the contrast is where the lesson lives. Somewhere there is a person with a fraction of his income who feels completely safe, and somewhere there is a person with 10 times his money who checks the account balance the way you check a lock at night, again and again, and never quite believing it. Same feeling wanted, opposite amounts of the goal. One of them built a life around the feeling and let the number land wherever it landed. The other built a life around the number and kept waiting for the feeling to be delivered on completion. It never was, because it was never in the shipment. If the safety lived inside the number, none of this could happen. The feeling and the number are not attached. They only look attached from a distance. So why does the mind get this so reliably backwards? 3 reasons, and they're built in. The first is that we are bad forecasters of our own feelings. The researchers Daniel Gilbert and Timothy Wilson spent years on this. We overestimate how strongly a future event will move us, and we badly overestimate how long the effect will last. The win will feel enormous, we think, and it will feel enormous forever. It feels big briefly, and then the mind adjusts. We predict a permanent change and receive a temporary one. The second reason is that whatever you focus on swells. Daniel Kahneman called it the focusing illusion. Nothing you're paying attention to is ever as important as it feels while you're paying attention to it. When your whole mind is aimed at one goal, that goal fills the frame. It looks like the hinge your entire happiness swings on. It isn't. It just looks that way because it's the only thing in view. And the third reason is the treadmill. Decades ago, researchers studying people after enormous life events, including a study of lottery winners, found the same quiet pattern. After the spike, people drift back toward the baseline they started from. The mind adapts. It takes the new thing, absorbs it, and resets the hunger, which means a feeling sourced from an outcome has a shelf life. It fades, and the fading feels like needing more. Put those three together and you get the trap in full. You're chasing a feeling using a tool, the goal, that your mind wildly overrates, focuses on until it blots out everything else, and then adapts to the moment you have it. You are, in a real sense, running toward a horizon and calling it a destination. And now the machine has learned to sell you this on a loop. Look at a feed for a minute. Every image is a proxy for a feeling priced and packaged. This body is the proxy for discipline. This kitchen is the proxy for peace. This car is the proxy for respect. This vacation, the proxy for freedom. This number, the proxy for enough. You scroll and each one whispers the same promise the promotion made. Arrive here and receive the feeling. The researcher Tim Kasser spent a career finding the same result, that the harder people lean their lives toward extrinsic goals, money and image and status, the further they tend to drift from the well-being those goals were supposed to buy. The feed isn't selling you things, it's selling you feelings you already have access to with a thing bolted on top and a price attached. Here's the twist, though, and the part that turns this from a sad fact into a usable one. The goal isn't only a bad predictor of the feeling. Very often, the goal is a detour away from it. The feeling you actually want usually has the nearest path, and that path is almost never the giant number. If what you want under Make a Million is to stop being afraid of the phone bill, there's a version of Safe available years earlier and far cheaper than $1 million. If what you want under Get Famous is to feel like your work matters to someone, that feeling is available today in one honest conversation for free. The goal says, sacrifice the feeling now and I'll give it back to you at the end. Guaranteed. It cannot guarantee that. And the whole time, the feeling was sitting much closer down a smaller door you walked past because it wasn't impressive enough to notice. That's the real cost of the proxy. Not that you might miss the goal, that you spend the years you could have had the feeling purchasing a symbol of the feeling instead. Think of the person saving every spare hour for the retirement where they'll finally rest, and arriving at rest with a body too worn to enjoy it, having skipped 20 years of smaller rests that were free the whole time, or the one chasing the title that will finally make them feel respected, who could have felt it years earlier from a single piece of work they were quietly proud of. The symbol always costs more than the thing it stands for. That is what makes it a symbol. So here's the shift, and it's a small one, which is why it's easy to miss and hard to unsee. Before you chase any goal, name the feeling underneath it. Say it plainly. Not, I want the number, but I want to stop being afraid, or I want to feel like enough, or I want to be free to choose my days. Then ask the honest question, what is the nearest, cheapest way to get this feeling? And does the giant goal actually beat it? And sometimes it will. Some feelings really do need the big version, and then you chase it clear-eyed, knowing what you're buying, but most of the time, the honest question quietly dissolves the goal because the goal was never the point. It was a stand-in you mistook for the thing itself. This doesn't mean stop wanting, it means want the right target. Aim at the feeling, not its costume. Keep the goals that genuinely deliver it and let go of the ones you were only chasing because someone told you the feeling was stored inside them. Now go back to the one thing you're working toward, the number, the title, the someday. Look at it again, and this time look through it. Name what you're actually reaching for. You were never counting the number. You were counting the days until you'd get to feel a certain way, and a lot of those days are available now if you stop mailing them to the finish line. So the only question left is the one worth sitting with, the goal or the feeling you think it'll buy. Which one are you actually building your life around? Because you can spend 40 years earning the costume, or you can find out what you're cold and put on a coat today.